Hi, this is Lamar, and you're listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. A third space is a term that refers to a safe space for people to come together for respectful dialogue in a spirit of listening, sharing, and learning. In this podcast, we explore what it means to have third space conversations, and we try to model them. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please be sure to subscribe, share it, and of course, like it. The more people join us, the quicker we get to third space as a society. Now let's get to third space today.
Hey there, Lamar. How's it going?
It's going well, Tom. How about you?
Well, if I were any better, I would be ridiculously just obnoxious, I guess.
Okay. I'm going to let that one go because I could take that so many different directions. But it's good to see you again.
Well, let me just say I'm doing well, Lamar. I'm doing well. So,
all right.
It's golf
well,
season.
You're good.
Who couldn't be happy? It's golf season. Who wouldn't be happy?
Yeah. I'm kind of speechless on that. I could take that down a road of saying it's what? And that's okay. It's camping season. Ha.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And
getting
you're
my
right.
camper ready to go out and give her a roll.
Oh, perfect. Well, I know how much you love to do that. You love to do that almost as much as I love to play golf. And
I think that's true. I think that's true. And, a lot of people wonder, what is it about camping? Well, it's a lot of things. But one of the things I really, really enjoy is meeting people. People I've never met before and may never, ever meet again. And it's just a lot of fun to be on the road and interacting with people in their daily lives and their location and find out more about what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Well, golf's a little bit like that. I mean, you end up in the leagues I play in, you end up playing with different people every time. And, it's really interesting. You can have some nice conversations. It is interesting though, that our conversations often do not veer into the political.
Mine neither.
You might imagine that in a county like ours, which is a mixture of blue and red, that obviously people have opinions, but it doesn't go into the political. It stays on, family. It stays on, work. It stays on golf, and how I really should have hit that ball a little bit better, so.
I think that's true. And maybe because people are really just overwhelmed by all the conversations about politics, and that it seems to invade all of our life in every day. When we're out traveling, we're talking about, places to go see, is the park open? Is the restaurant, what's the best restaurant to go check out this little town, or how's your experience with that camper versus that tow vehicle? I mean, that's what we talk about. We don't necessarily talk about what's going on in the administration, et cetera. It's just, we're tired of that.
It's funny you mentioned that because I'm thinking that as we start playing golf at about 8:30 in the morning or 9 at the latest. And as noon approaches, the conversation turns more and more to good food and where to find food. And as you know, Frederick is full of these just amazing restaurants. It's kind of like this foodie space in Maryland. We've got these wonderful chefs, and everybody's competing against everybody else. And I shouldn't say that because people are going to want to come here and eat and then take up all the space in the restaurants. I'm sorry, food's bad. You don't want to come here. No, but actually the food is great. And it's how I learned about new places is from all these golfers.
Sure. We were in Wyoming for 2 weeks last year. And it was a lot about, you'd ask people, well, what's going on in this community? What are things that we should look for? And it almost always, and by the way, the best restaurant for the best steak, because it's Wyoming, the best steak is you want to go here, or the best brisket is over here. They didn't talk about pork much. It was a lot about steak. Steak and buffalo.
Go figure.
Yeah,
I can't imagine why that would be, but
Steak, buffalo, elk. I mean, all that was very prevalent on the menu. But yeah, you have a great time.
Oh, you do. You do.
So what are we going to do today, Tom?
Well, what we're going to do today is we're gonna I think continue a conversation we kind of started with Joel on the last podcast.
Right.
Which, remember when he asked us, are you guys making a difference? And how do you know you're making a difference? Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, you talk about a stumper of a question. Holy cow. I could feel my gears whirling, and I could see yours going too. Like, how do we answer this? But it was a really good question. It was a very good question. How do we know we're making a difference, and are we making a difference? And so we thought we would just pick up on that and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. And why are we putting all this energy into this kind of programming on YouTube and putting it out there and hoping someone watches it, right?
Why are we spending our retirements doing this? Why are we doing this, not getting paid for it, not making any money, and, stuff like, I mean, why are we doing this? I mean, I think those are really good, legitimate questions. And it really isn't something that we have done had much conversation about recently. So I think it's good.
Well, both you and I in our history have worked in, not-for-profits. We have also I've worked in for-profits, you as well. And we have also done a lot of research, data mining, et cetera. And so we know that there are things you can get good data on, and there's things that, it's just impossible to do. And this question may be one of those questions that we don't have good data on, that we can't necessarily quantify. And so let me take, kind of how I answered Joel was from my experience just locally and people that I talk to and groups that I'm a part of, where the language that you and I have been using, the third space conversation, the third place conversation, that language, I'm hearing it being used properly, and sometimes challenging me and challenging others, saying, "Okay, is this a good third space conversation to have?
Yeah,
are we doing it?" So, in that respect, I am seeing some progress, with myself and with those around. I don't know how about you?
Well, I think I'm having a similar kind of experience, in that I'm always surprised when I run into people in my neighborhood that say, "Hey, caught your podcast and really enjoyed it." Of course, my guess is they're probably not going to say, "Oh, hey, caught your podcast, and boy, did that suck." I don't think they're going to. But it's really always fascinating to me when people say, "Caught your podcast, listened in the other day," and I have to say I'm always a little embarrassed about that, because it's like, ooh, I suddenly feel very shy. It's like, which one did they catch? And
what did I say?
What did I say? That kind of stuff. But I am running into people that give me that feedback. They say, "Hey, I'm looking forward to your next podcast. I got to listen in the other day. I was playing golf a couple days ago with a guy, and he said, 'Hey, I really enjoyed your podcast.'" And then I turned to him, because this was on March 30th.
No.
and I said to him, "Well, if you enjoy it, wait till tomorrow. It's our annual April Fool's Day show, and we had way too much fun with it."
So just to touch on that particular, and I that came out what two days ago from the time we.
Yeah, from our recording. I came out yesterday. Yeah, we're recording this on April Fools. April Fools.
Yeah, April Fool's Day. And so already I've had two responses. One about the lame joke that you just love to tell about Kauffman rolling down the street. and if you want to hear that joke, you're going to have to listen to the podcast.
Well, what did the guy say to you though?
Oh man, I got
the first fly of the season in here. Look at this. Okay.
So his wife, who's just getting over a really long-term sore throat and cough, he did send me a text saying, "Hey, you got anything to stop my wife's coughing?" And
that's a great joke.
That's related to that podcast. You'll have to listen to it to get the relation. But I also, from another friend of ours, I got a note that said, "Hey, that was 47 minutes of my life that I can't get back." Which, just so everyone knows, that podcast has absolutely nothing to do with third space. But he did respond just a little bit ago and said, "Hey, I laughed out loud and those were interesting stories." But, the point being is we just felt once a year at least we can go off the rails and talk about something that's just fun.
Yeah.
And we did.
There's a lot awfully serious going on right now, but really is. But I do think, with the little bit of feedback that we're getting, one, it says there are people that are paying attention, and there's people that are listening in, and in terms of what you said, in terms of hearing some changes in language and that, there is a level of impact that is being made.
In doing a YouTube program, we knew very little about how to do this when we first started, and we still know very little about the whole business of YouTubing. And that's not our intent, is for this to be a business. But when we've talked a lot about IA, and so we did a little bit of checking, saying, "Hey,
that would be AI. That would be AI."
That's how much we know about IA. So we did a little bit of checking, saying, "Hey, do these things really make a difference?" And AI is saying, "Yes, they do." And I thought about kind of the response. It's like, what you can do through a YouTube or through a podcast format is you can build a community of sorts. You can bring people together, and we have been doing that. We've been bringing guests on. Mm-hmm. We've been meeting people across the country and across the world who have similar kinds of interests that we do and that our listeners have. And we talk about sometimes difficult things, but we also talk about, how we can reach out to other people and build relationships and build community. I'm hoping we're doing some educating. And I think that's evident just in what I'm seeing with how people have a language to talk about communication that maybe they didn't have before. And I'm finding that I personally am growing and learning through this whole experience.
Yeah.
So when I think about, do we make a difference in those ways? I think maybe we do. Mm-hmm. Are we changing lives? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm reminded of some research that was done a few years ago on the phenomenon of, at that time we called peer education or peer educators, when this was really coming into vogue in human service organizations and that. And the concept was that you would take young people, sometimes high school students, and you would have them doing things with junior high students or middle school students, mm-hmm. or you take college students and have them working with high school students or with other college students on issues like you many times saw this on smoking cessation. Sometimes you saw it on reproductive health issues, right? And a lot of the research that came out on peer education said that does it have a big impact on the people that are being educated by the educators, by the peer educators. And the research tended to say, well, yeah, it has some impact. But where it has the most impact is on the peer educators.
Okay.
That's where the really significant impact was made, is because in a very subtle way, these young people in areas of leadership and having to learn about and talk about these topics, that they were inculcating that in a way that they wouldn't necessarily if they were one of the other students and they were talking with or listening to a peer educator. I thought that was really interesting. I thought it was very interesting. And it's a similar effect for us, that we hope that there's an effect out here. What we might be seeing is the greatest effect perhaps is on us. And I think that's part of the reason, though, Lamar, that we are often saying to people, engage,
right.
Go out. And nobody's gonna do it perfectly. Nobody's going to go and have these kinds of third space conversations with others in a way that is absolutely perfect. But it's the practice principle. The more you do it, the more you learn how to do it, and the greater the impact it has, not just on yourself, but on other people as well. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I think that as you practice that practice effect and doing it takes some of the mystery and some of the anxiety out of having conversations. A while back, we had a podcast that had to do with what is it that I can do?
Yeah.
How can I make a difference? How can I get engaged? And there's so many different ways to do that. I have friends and contacts that are very active in the protest activities. This is more on the political side of things, and have people who are very interested in the writing to my representatives. Others who feel more comfortable and find it useful to actually go to the local representative meetings, and engage in that way. And then on the non-political side or the less political side, being involved in local kinds of conversations about how city and county governments are run, or part of the local organization you might be part of, whether it be a church, synagogue, or whether it might be a school or whatever it might be, but actually attending gatherings and voicing opinions and thoughts and being engaged in conversations. So I'm seeing that there's lots of ways to engage. And it's exciting to me, I'll be honest with you, to see people engaging more than maybe they have in the past, and not being as fearful or going together with as part of a small group where you feel like you have a little bit of support in what you're doing. So there's just a lot of ways to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think that those are positive things, and we're living in a time when we're needing to put our voices out there one way or another.
Yeah. And we are coming upon a time in most states here, primary season. When's the primary when's the primary in Kansas?
Was it August, I think?
Oh, okay. Ours is early. Ours is, I think, in June. And so, with the political cycle is such that as we get closer to elections, and not so much the primary, but certainly the fall election, where there's going to be more conversation around issues and how people that are running for election or re-election address those issues in our communities. So there's going to be those opportunities that begin to organically just kind of bubble up. And it's important for us to be able to step into those spaces and to try some of the things that we've been promoting here, listening before you speak, being very respectful, understanding from the get-go that winning does not have to be on the table. In fact, winning should be off the table. You're not there to try to change anybody's mind. They're not there to try to change your mind. You're just there simply to listen and to see if you can establish a connection that allows the conversation to move forward over time. Now, over time, maybe somebody shifts their position, and that's fine. But the most important thing is that you're creating a connection that builds community. And I think that's what I am appreciating about this experience so much, Lamar, is that it's reminding me of what it takes to really build community with people and to build relationship with people. I I play in a billiards club as well as a golf club, right? And so or golf league. And not everybody that's going to be in on those foursomes or that I'm playing with in the billiards room are going to be people who share my ideas and my opinions of things. But what's really important is that I establish a way of having relationship with them and connection with them and communicating with them so that eventually we can have those conversations if it's important for us to have them. And and that time of importance may be coming down the road yet, but it's not here quite yet. Yeah.
No, but it's kind of like money in the bank. You start putting money into relationships and how you interact with people. When you have to have a more difficult or a challenging conversation, you've kind of got this money in the bank that you've already invested in the relationship.
Yeah.
And you kind of know you trust each other and you know how to communicate with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
We've had a couple of conversations with some political figures here from Kansas. And actually 3 different politicians on both sides of the aisle. I'm curious. I'm going to ask you a question. I'll give you some time to think about it here while I kind of talk about it. But let me know kind of let us know a little bit about what you think about how what we learned about learned about these people and the roles that they play and how they communicate. Well, what I was noticing in those conversations, first of all, is how very real these people are. And I think that we lose that because, or we don't see that because many people only see people who are in politics in their political role.
Yeah.
And the sound bites that they put out there, or the news articles, the reporting that might happen, and we see such a small picture of what they're about and kind of what their story is.
Yeah.
What I experienced was the genuineness of who these people are, and once we kind of took down the wall of someone's got to win in this conversation, and kind of laid it out on a table saying, we're all welcome at the table. We're going to just talk through some things and learn about each other. It became a very different interaction.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a really healthy, kind of a healthy environment that is created by using the third space concepts.
Yeah.
What's your reaction? What did you kind of get out of those conversations?
Well, I think the point you made really resonates with me about, taking winning off the table. To me, I think that is one of the most important behaviors or skills that we can employ in third space conversations, is that we just remove that from we're just not going to fight until somebody wins, right? And that so changes the dynamics, because now if you're not having a conversation that is supposed to result in somebody's mind being changed, now what you can do is you can listen and you can learn, and you can admit that when you have learned something and maybe have a little different take on it than what you did, before going into the conversation. I think that is one of the most powerful concepts, and that's not our concept, by the way.
No.
We borrowed that from somebody else that works in this field, does workshops and seminars in this field. But it's such a very powerful idea that when you take winning off the table, the difference it makes in the quality of conversation you can have just for the sake of conversation and learning from one another. It's an amazing difference.
So if I'm going to follow that up just a little bit, if you're having a difficult conversation, a conversation where there there are some outcomes that we want to come up with. How do you take winning off the table if you don't? How do you take winning off the table and still get to an outcome?
Oh, yeah, that's a really good question, and I think there's a weird, not weird. It's there, but it's not weird, except that it is kind of weird because it's so contrary to how we see things these days, and that is the to me that goes to another concept that we have really embraced in doing this, and that is the idea of kindness.
Right.
Even if if you're a team leader or you're a group leader and you really need to move things forward and get people on the same page to make decisions and all of that, those are a different kind of conversation. You can create that third space where everybody can be heard and everybody can be listened to and everybody's ideas can be considered. But if you still need to move towards a decision, you can choose to do that with a heavy hand, or you can choose to do that with kindness, and recognizing that the value of the ideas, even though it's really important to make a decision, and so everybody may not get what they want out of this. I just find that to be, I really had not thought about this until this moment, Lamar. But when you link those two ideas together, take winning off the table and move forward with kindness, I think those are two really powerful ideas in facilitating connection and conversation. What do you think? Do those connect for you?
Absolutely. And I think depending on your role in the conversation, and people do have roles when they come to the table, if you're needing to come to a solution and you don't necessarily, maybe I have a preferred solution that I think, hey, this is the cat's meow. We need to get to this solution.
The cat's meow.
I kind of like that cat's meow. If I have if that in the back of my head, how we can manipulate the conversation to get to my position, or I can truly, if I approach the conversation and saying, I truly want us to get to the best solution, that every voice is heard, that we can come away saying, like you said, I may not have got everything I'm looking for, but at least I feel like I'm part of this decision. I feel like I made a difference in this conversation. I think that's what we're trying to get to. And that takes all these skills that we've been talking about over time. Of this podcast. So I come back to this first question we had. Are we making a difference? I'm really hoping that we are, and I'm believing that we are. But if nothing else, you and I are working at it. I caught myself in a conversation that I had early in the week. I got to tell you, with someone that I typically have difficult conversations with. I went into it prepping myself mentally to stay within the third space. And the other person wasn't part of that, in the sense that they had the same plan. I didn't say, okay, now we're going to have a third space conversation. I went into it with my perspective, saying I'm going to keep myself in this third space. And I got to tell you, it went so much better than could be expected. And it felt so much better. I don't feel the conversation itself lended itself to a third space conversation, but I felt like I was operating in that space. And that made a big difference.
What you just said made me think of something, and I will relate these, but I'm going to probably go around a loop. Do you remember in the day when I statements was a big thing? And they would have whole trainings around how to use I statements. I suffered through 2 or 3 of those, I think, and everything you said had to begin with I as opposed
I.
to you, because you is very accusatory and it can, yeah, anyway. So you had to work at making I statements, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes you find yourself frustrated if the other person didn't do it, and then you wanted to we them on the side of the head.
Oh, you did not. You that was a you statement right there. Yeah, I remember this.
But okay, so now the tie into what you just said. Our ability to move towards a third space, while it would be great if it happened between two people in a conversation, it doesn't depend upon the other person to move to a third space for us to strive to get there. We can still do that. We can still try to keep winning off the table for us. Try to be very kind in our interaction. Try to be very respectful to that person. Try to listen to that person and learn from that person. And hopefully what that does is it sets up the dynamic that gives them permission to do the same thing as well. But it's not, as in your case, you said it wasn't, I was trying to get to a third space. But as far as I was concerned, I was in a third space, but the conversation was not in a third space.
Right.
And sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Is you may not be both striving for a third space, but it doesn't mean that you can't operate out of that mode yourself.
Absolutely. And again, it's a mindset. It's how do you,
Yes.
and not every conversation is going to be a third space conversation, nor should
Nope.
it.
Nope.
But if you decide this is how I'm going to approach it, I think you're further ahead. I think those are the things I'm learning, and I'm hoping other people are learning as well.
Yeah.
Golly, I was in a meeting this a few days ago, and I had the opportunity of just kind of leading us through that conversation in that meeting, and I just sat back and I was so appreciative and of how it happened. And this is a group of people who have seriously been trying to learn how to do third space conversation.
Yeah.
And to see the progress that it was taking place was just very, very affirming of everyone in the room. So it can have an impact. I really believe that. Let's talk about the format a little bit. Can we do that? The YouTube.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, because people maybe don't realize this. We actually have 2.5 different formats.
Yeah, well, that's true. I never thought about it in 2.5, but yeah.
Yeah. We have YouTube, which is video.
Right.
We drop our audio goes out on Spotify, but it goes to Amazon, Apple. Oh man. And I once did a Google search on where is the program appearing, and all of these names came up of different platforms I had never heard of. But the major ones are like Spotify, Amazon, and Apple. Google used to have a platform, but they ended it. And then our other one is Substack, in which you can actually choose. You can either listen to the audio or you can watch the video. It's your choice.
Okay. If you want to see us in person, virtually,
live on tape.
There you go. But okay, so those are the ways that we push out this podcast, and
Lamar here. Getting to third space is always free. We don't ask you for money, but we do ask you to help us grow our audience. Hit the like button, share the podcast, and subscribe yourself. This will help us grow. Thanks. Now back to the podcast.
We've kind of moved from trying to do a half-hour presentation or a show to about an hour in 40-some minutes of content. and then about 15 minutes of the beginning and ending and etc. We're working really hard at trying to kind of put this in more of a consistent format, because honestly, some of our shows have gone long, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say we went too long on some of ours.
Really
and so we
long.
recognize it takes a lot of people's time, and that's an interesting thing, is how much time are people willing to spend listening to something like this?
Yeah.
TED Talks, for example, which is a very popular platform, it's getting much less popular than it used to be. But TED Talks, or that format, is what, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Something in that line.
Oh, so it's actually 17, I believe.
Oh, 17 minutes. So
yeah, that used to be the standard. I believe was 17 or 18 minutes.
Yeah. And that is not a time that people just pulled out of the air.
Yeah.
There's some data behind that, and it has to do with our attention, and it has to do with how much content is applicable that can you get in that time slot, 17 minutes from what you say, versus how much is just filler content. The ums and the ahs and the the rabbit trails you go down, etc. And we tend to sometimes go down rabbit trails. So one of the things we think about, we talk about, is how can we make this a good use of people's time. We understand that the April 1st, April Fool's Day, may have been 47 minutes of people's time, hopefully enjoying it, but not a lot of content, right? But when
our commenter did tell us late in a follow-up that he laughed.
Yeah,
he laughed. He laughed through it. Yeah,
he did. So. But YouTube itself has gone to really promoting the shorts.
Yeah.
Something that is somewhere. I've had shorts as little as 30 seconds to shorts as long as 12, 13 minutes. And quite frankly, those are more popular, according to what the data that we're reading is saying, that the shorts are dominating kind of the YouTube platform. But on the other side of things, kind of our goal is not to just put a sound bite out there. Our goal is to really have some thoughtful conversations with some interesting people and on topics that we find important between us.
Yeah.
What are Tom, you and I have not really talked a lot about this, but what's your thought about, the format of how we're putting this out there? And is it dating? Are people, do they have the attention span for an hour conversation?
What I remember from years ago is there was a rule of thumb in the television industry. Why do they have the commercials when they have the commercials? Yep. Because they understood that the attention span of the average American audience member was, maybe between 8 and 12 minutes. And so they had to give them something else to do and then bring them back. And I think, but at the same time, then you find programs that, especially during the streaming era, since we've moved into that, where the long form programs are still very popular. I mean, one of the shows I love to watch is The Pit, and it's a medical show. There are no commercials in that. It's a solid 56, 57 minutes, but it also really grabs you and holds your attention. I like our shift to making sure that we are aiming for our interviews to not exceed 45 minutes. I'm liking that shift, and that allows us easily enough, by the time we do our opening, do the closing, and anything else that we need to do in between, we can keep it easily under an hour. And I know that I appreciate that when I'm listening to a podcast. If I'm listening to a podcast that has my attention, that hour goes by pretty fast. And so I think the other thing is that it behooves us. Oh, there I go. I got to say behooves.
You did it. Congratulations.
Thank you. And those of you that were betting on whether or not I would say behooves, please remember to share your profits. Okay. So, so I think that the shift to the shorter format is really nice. I like it, and at the same time, it gives us enough time to ask people questions about their life and about their work that have meaning, and gives them a chance to unpack it a little bit. So, yeah, you missed that in the shorts. I mean,
yeah, you do miss that in the shorts.
Yeah.
Something that I've been thinking as we've been chatting here that I'm finding, I'm hoping people are finding this as well. If not, I think we maybe need to be more intentional talking about it. But we're not selling anything.
Mm-mm.
We're not promoting any kind of product or any kind of process other than third space conversation. I guess what I'm trying to get at is we're hoping, our goal is that ourselves and our guests are authentic. So what you're hearing is truly from the person's heart or mind or belief. That may change, by the way, over time, but that is authentic versus something that is really about trying to convince people of something.
Yeah.
We want to share with you what we think, what we believe, and some ideas and things that may be helpful. But it's up to the listener, what they find to be authentic for them, and it works for them.
Yep.
The other piece that to me is tied with that I think is important is that anyone who participates in this podcast, whether it's presenting or as a listener, want this to be educational. That we do learn something in most of our podcasts. Okay,
in most of them.
In most of them, that there's something of value from the time that the listeners committed to this hour. That there is something to take away from it. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
yeah. I like the shift. I like how we're what we're trying to do in terms of the length, and make sure it's a substantive. If we're going to be 45 minutes to an hour, making sure it's substantive. I think that's really good. And I hope that, in fact, this show is substantive enough for folks, because it's caused us to really think reflectively about what is we're doing, why are we doing it, and what do we hope to come out of it, and that's important for us to remember and to keep before us as we do this show after show. Right?
Answering Joel Kauffman's question, do we think it's making a difference? I think we're making a difference in ways that I'm happy about.
Yep. Me too.
Are we going to be invited on, I don't know, some famous person's show? Oh gosh. Are we going to be invited on some well-known, well-respected show? And that's not what we're after.
Yeah.
We just want to be Tom and Lamar and share with you our musings and our thoughts.
That's right. Though, there is one other little thing that we could share that's exciting that I shared with you before we started this. So when I go to Substack, I mean, frankly, I'm still trying to figure out how to do the analytics on all of this. But Substack tells us that we have people that are checking us out and listening in from 43 countries. No, I'm sorry, 43 states. We almost got all 50 states covered, and 17 countries. I'm stunned at that.
Wow.
I am just absolutely stunned at that. Now, maybe they don't listen in regularly, or maybe they listen in and they go, oh my God, these two guys are idiots, and they hang up right away. But, it's really shocking to me, that we have that breadth. It's not a huge number of people out there, but it's fascinating to me that there are people in such diverse places that have bothered to check us out. So,
okay, Tom.
Well,
we've come to the end of our interview time.
We have. We're in the final 1 minute and 8 seconds of our countdown here. But this has been fun, Lamar. I'm glad Joel asked us that question. It was a good question.
I will also say, listen to the listeners. We have some interesting people coming up to talk about some interesting things that that they're passionate about, that we're passionate about, and then we have some people who are just interesting people that we have coming. So, so stay tuned. We're having a good time. We hope you are as well.
Yeah. Hey, Lamar, have a great week.
Yes. You as well, Tom. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Tom here. Thank you for listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. Remember to click on subscribe to get notices about new episodes, and be sure to like and share the podcast as well. Opinions and ideas expressed in this podcast are solely those of Lamar Roth and Tom Klaus, and we'd like to hear your opinions and ideas too. You can leave us a voice message on Spotify, or you can email us at the addresses found in the show notes. Also, in the show notes, you can find links to some of the things we talked about today, so you can check them out yourself. Until next time, keep moving forward toward third space.
This podcast was reviewed and approved by Jake and Ebby Dogs Incorporated.